Okay, this video is going to draw together all of the information that I put out in the last 4 videos, and so it all makes sense for everybody. Before I get into this one, we get people that come to this channel to try to project this channel as being a Max Verstappen hate channel. All you need to do is look at my description here, which I'm going to show you now. This channel has been created to expose the true reality of systematic corruption. That is what this channel is exposing. That is why that thing you can partially see at the back actually says criminal minds. Systematic corruption. It didn't just get there by itself, people. Okay, there is somebody behind the scenes that came up with an idea to put it there for a specific reason. Yeah, who'd have thought that somebody could have planned something like that? So, I started this channel about 12 months after Abu Dhabi, and this is what I wrote then. Almost 12 months on from one of the most corrupt events that has ever taken place in sport, none of the mainstream media has told the truth about the event. And despite many of us contacting them on multiple occasions to try to get them to expose the truth. So, this is why I do what I do, because mainstream media will not do it, and mainstream media is ultimately all owned by the likes of Vanguard, BlackRock, Stateside, and I'll go through that. Every one of us, every one of these entities are owned, and if you don't understand that, okay, I suggest don't worry your little heads, but use this as a learning tool about Formula One. And when you grow up to be a big boy, okay, maybe then you'll start realizing a certain few things. Okay. Now, secondary to that is that I know for some of the people that come here, you're told that when you grow up, you'll be able to go to university. I think your heads are being filled with false promises, because for some of you, I don't think you have the material that's going to get you there. I don't think you've got the cognitive function, but not to worry about that. But let's go with that anyway. Let's say, for example, in about 4 or 5 years' time, let's say you did get the grades through school and you got the qualifying entry criteria to go to university. When you go to university, what you have is a professor out the front of the room giving a lecture. The professor is somebody who knows what they're talking about, and they are telling you something new that you don't know, and they are teaching it, and they're expecting you to absorb that information so that you become more educated and gain knowledge. Okay, what the professor doesn't do is ask you for what you think in the comments section, because that's not useful. Okay, they are the people that know. They know that you don't know, and they don't ask for your opinion because that is useless. Okay, but thanks anyway. It's all helping the algorithm, no doubt, the mystery formula which YouTube use to decide who they want to show the video to. When YouTube are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and Stateside, who want to cover up their crime. So I don't really want it to be shown to that many people. They want it to be shown to those strap-on fanboys to come here to create argument and to try and discredit and vilify the information. Yes, they'll show it to you, but the 30 million Lewis Hamilton fans, no, the algorithm doesn't work that way. No, the secret formula will mean that YouTube will not want to show this video to the Lewis Hamilton fans. So maybe you can help. Decent people out there, if you can share these kind of videos, maybe it will help this information reach a bigger audience. So, on with the education. Most of you will have access to that new thing called the internet. Okay, for those of you that are familiar with the internet, what you do, you can go on there and there's a search bar and you press FIA, key that into there, and it gives you a list of websites. And when you press on a website, you can go Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, okay, fluent in French. And when you go onto that site, you come up with this page. Well, you don't come up with that page. You come up with what they call the home page, okay? And they give you the latest information that they've appointed this lad as the new Secretary General for Automobile Mobility. That sounds important, doesn't it? FIA appoint new Secretary General for Automobile Mobility. What that title says it all. He's having a lovely time, isn't he? He's going to be paid a lot of money and will tell a lot of lies. Anyway, so if you along the top here it says sport, and if you press on sport, and then here second column along regulations, international sporting code and appendices. If you press on that, this is what I want you to do at home as homework. Okay, when you get back to your bedrooms, rather than just get in front of your computers and get your sock out. Okay, do this work first because I need you to prepare for the next lecture. Scroll down here and I want you to read the International Sporting Code, and then here Appendix A, B, C, D, E. Oh, they don't know how to do the alphabet. A, C, D, G, H, J, K. Must be using a different alphabet in French. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Anyway, Appendix L. Okay, Appendix L. If you click on that, it will download a PDF, which is a document format, to your computer, and it looks a little bit like this. And when you scroll down to about 3/4 of the way down that document, you get to chapter 4. And chapter 4 is the existing code of conduct for Formula One drivers that's been around for years. They reiterate it every year. This is for the 2024 season, right back before this season started. It existed before the 2021 season started as well. And what it says is this. Number one, you only need to look, it depends in which country and what you're fluent in, but I'm more fluent in English than I am in French. So, observance of signals. The instructions detailed in Appendix H to the International Sporting Code are deemed to be part of this code of driving conduct. All drivers must abide by them. So, if you are a motor racing driver taking part in circuit racing, you must adhere to the signals that you're given. So if a marshal waves a flag, you must abide by that signal. If there are light boards displaying signals, you must abide by those signals. Okay, that is number one. Number two, overtaking, car control and track limits. Now, this is the existing code as to what a driver must adhere to with regard to overtaking, car control and track limits. So, A car alone on the track may use the full width of the said track. However, as soon as it is caught by a car which is about to lap it, the driver must allow the faster car past at the first possible opportunity. If the driver who has been caught does not seem to make full use of the rear view mirrors, flag marshals will display the wave blue flags to indicate that the faster driver wants to overtake. Any driver who appears to ignore the blue flags will be reported to the stewards. Overtaking, according to the circumstances, may be carried out on either the right or the left. So, as you are motor racing, as a motor racing driver, you may want to overtake another vehicle, and that is allowed. Okay, you can overtake the vehicle that you'd like to overtake on either the right hand side or the left hand side. Now, it does say dependent on the circumstances. Now we need to consider what a motor racing track is. Well, it's not just a circle where you go around it to end up in the same position again. It's a little bit like that, but it's a misshapen one. It's like a circle that's been bent in many different ways, but ultimately you start in one point, you go around the circuit and you end back up at that same point. But as you go around each of them bends and curves around that circuit, then what happens is, whilst you're entitled to take any part of that track as long as you stay on it, when there's another car there, you're not. You have to consider the presence of the other car. When you are taking the racing line around the circuit, the racing line isn't weaving from side to side around the circuit. If you drove down a straight, the racing line is not driving from side to side of the track in a weaving motion like Max Verstappen did at Abu Dhabi 2021 on that final last lap. No, that's not the racing line. The racing line down a straight would be relatively straight because that would be the fastest way. That's the shortest way and hence the fastest way. As you go around a corner, the racing line would be to flatten out the corner as much as possible, which will allow you to maintain as much speed through that corner as possible. So when you do that, you keep as wide as possible to one side of the track. As you enter the corner, you cut across the track to the inside of the corner, and then you end up travelling out to the outside of the track on exit of the corner normally. That is the fastest way through, unless of course there's another corner immediately after that one, and therefore you aim to adjust the position of your car as you go around the first section of corner to set you up for the second corner in quick succession. Obviously, in doing such a thing, essentially you are weaving across the track. You're going from one side of the track to the other. If there are going to be other cars present, then you need to consider them. Hence, we have some codes of conduct for how you must conduct yourself in the presence of the other vehicles that are sharing that track with you. You do not have a right to just essentially cut from one side of the track to the other without any regard for the other cars on track. And this applies both on the straights and for when you go round the corners. So, this is the circumstances we are now talking about. A driver may not leave the track without justifiable reason. More than one change of direction to defend a position is not permitted. Any driver moving back towards the racing line, having earlier defended his position offline, should leave at least one car width between his own car and the edge of the track on the approach to the corner. So if you have moved off the racing line on the approach to a corner to defend your position, you cannot move back to the racing line to force the other car off the track. You have to leave at least a car width on the entry to the corner on the outside of you for the car that you defended against when you defended on the inside. However, I did read that bit. However, manoeuvres liable to hinder other drivers, such as deliberate crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track or any other abnormal change of direction, are strictly prohibited. Any driver who appears guilty of any of the above offences will be reported to the stewards. So, clearly, as already written in this code for all drivers competing in motorsport, manoeuvres liable to hinder other drivers, such as deliberate crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track or any other abnormal change of direction, are strictly prohibited. Any driver who appears guilty of any of the above offences will be reported to the stewards. You're not allowed to crowd another car off the track. If there is a car next to you on the track, you are not allowed to drive that car out of track room. If you do such a thing, you will be referred to the stewards, and the stewards will impose a penalty on you for you committing that offence. C. Drivers must use the track at all times and may not leave the track without a justifiable reason. For the avoidance of doubt, the white lines defining the track edges are considered to be part of the track, but the curbs are not. So for those of you that are confused as to what constitutes the track, that's the tarmac bit in between the grass, what do they have? They have the painted bits for the run-off areas, or sometimes they have the gravel traps. The bit in between the white lines is the bit that we're talking about. That's the track. So, should a car leave the track for any reason, the driver may rejoin, However, this may only be done when it is safe to do so without gaining any lasting advantage. So, you cannot attack another car from being in a position where you are behind the other car, leave the track and come out ahead of them. That is gaining a lasting advantage, isn't it? A driver will be judged to have left the track if no part of the car remains in contact with the track. A driver may be reported to the stewards should they perform any act which results in debris being brought onto the track. D. Causing a collision, repetition of serious mistakes, or the appearance of a lack of control over the car, such as leaving the track. Oh, so it shows that you're not in control of your car if you leave the track. Repeatedly as well. Grand Prix after Grand Prix after Grand Prix. You demonstrate that you leave the track, shows you're not in control of your vehicle. So, will be reported to the stewards and may entail the imposition of penalties up to and including the disqualification of any driver concerned. It is not permitted to drive the car unnecessarily slowly, erratically, or in a manner deemed potentially dangerous to other drivers at any time. As an example of that, I'll just refer you to Sergio Perez blocking Lewis Hamilton in the way he did at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The media will describe that as being amazing defensive driving. The driving code says otherwise. So, what exists, what is factual, is a document clearly defining those rules, the code of conduct for drivers. What the media will tell you, and this is the media that is owned, the media is Sky Sports. Sky is owned by Comcast. Comcast is owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, Stateside, the ultimate controllers of every narrative. Liberty Media own the sport of Formula One. Liberty Media is ultimately owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, Stateside. So, this form of media will tell you this about the situation.
Is clearly at this stage, Norris has got his nose in front, but he's not fully in front of Verstappen. I think at this stage, Verstappen comes off the brake pressure a bit to make sure he's racing basically to that apex. He's trying to make sure he gets to that apex first. And the reason he's trying to do that is because he is acutely aware of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now,
what we have, Karen, is the code that exists in black and white that I've just showed you in that regulatory document. You've made this up, haven't you, Karen? In the media. Karen in the media has put this together, put the FIA badge in the top corner to make it all sound official, and it's here to lie to you. I've showed you where you can obtain the truth. This is media lies. Remember, the purpose of this channel is to expose systematic corruption and media narrative. This is media narrative.
Guidelines have been created by the stewards and the race directors and the FIA, basically.
They haven't been created by the stewards. They're created by the FIA, the governing body of the sport. The stewards, they tell us they make their decisions independent of the FIA. How does that work then? Just like a football referee, tasked with refereeing a Premier League match, do they make their decisions independent of the rules of football, as dictated by the FA? No, they apply those rules of football as dictated by the FA.
In consultation with the GPDA and the drivers, and it says quite clearly that if the driver is overtaking around the outside, they need to have their front axle at least alongside the other car. So in this case, Norris needs to be fully alongside Verstappen. He wasn't, and therefore that wasn't applied.
Firstly, this is back to the USA Grand Prix description. Norris was ahead going into that corner of the overtaking car, challenging, because Norris had already obtained third position at that stage. Max had dropped down to fourth on entry to that corner, so Max became the overtaking car. on the inside. So he's already trying to gaslight the situation, but now he's going to say this to try to justify Max Verstappen's conduct.
Nowhere does it say, because again, if I read that line, it says that the overtaking car must stay within track limits. Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, in this case Verstappen, must stay within track limits. So
nowhere does it say that Max Verstappen has to stay within track limits. Well, Karen, it does. It does. Causing a collision, repetition of serious mistakes, or the appearance of a lack of control over the car, such as leaving the track, will be reported to stewards and may entail the imposition of penalties up to and including the disqualification of any driver concerned. And back up here, Karen, this is the official document, not your made-up one. Okay. Should any car leave the track? No, this one. Drivers must use the track at all times and may not leave the track without a justifiable reason. What is your justifiable reason, Karen? Because this suggestion of nowhere does it say that Max Verstappen has to stay on the track. But no, it says here, see, drivers must use the track at all times and may not leave the track without a justifiable reason. For the avoidance of doubt, the track is the bit between the white lines, Karen, in case you've got any doubt. Any manoeuvres liable to hinder another driver, such as deliberate crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track, which is what Max Verstappen did, deliberately drove Lando Norris off the track. Okay, and Karen's trying to tell us nowhere does it say that he's not allowed to do that. It does right here, Karen. Right here it says that. Manoeuvres liable to hinder other drivers, such as the deliberate crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track, or any other abnormal change of direction, such as driving your car in a direction that's not going to take that car around that corner on that track. Well, that's abnormal, isn't it? If what you're trying to do is drive your car around the track and you're heading in a direction that's not going to take you around that track. That is abnormal. Are strictly prohibited. Any driver who appears guilty of any of the above offences will be reported to the stewards. So there, no deliberate crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track. So we have the facts, the rules, and we have the media presentation of what they try and convince us of. That is media narrative. I saw that happen during Abu Dhabi 2021, after Abu Dhabi 2021, ever since. Hence, I've set up this page to expose that, and I'm still seeing it. In the immediate aftermath of Abu Dhabi 2021, I didn't understand. Like you all, like many of us, I didn't understand that the media appeared to be lying, appeared to be presenting us with mistruths, and it wasn't just one form of media. Everywhere I looked, I was reading or hearing a similar thing. And I thought, why are they all appearing to get this wrong? Perhaps they lack intelligence. So I will contact them. So that's what I did. I first took my presentations to Sky Sports. I wrote them down in the written format. You can go onto my Facebook page and see that. It's all there as evidence. So I contacted Sky Sports and I said, you appear to be getting this wrong. This is a simple explanation. And this is the simple reason why Lewis Hamilton is an 8-time world champion. Sky Sports says, oh, thank you for that, and ignored me. So I thought I will go to other forms of media, because other forms of media will only be too pleased to be able to reveal that Sky Sports are corrupt. And every other form of media ignored me. It's confusing, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Surely you would think media that competes with one another for our attention would only be too pleased to expose that one of their competitors is doing something that is wrong. But it doesn't work like that. Media is all owned. It's all owned by the same wealthy, financial, banking, investment, whatever you want to call them, groups that own everything. Now, the last video, the onboards from the situation, from the two Ferrari drivers showing the incident, from their cameras, from Lando Norris's and from Max Verstappen's, they are irrefutable. They are irrefutable and clearly display the offences that Max Verstappen is guilty of. The FIA regulations, facts, clear evidence of what the code already was, and the actual guidelines that need to be adhered to for driving conduct. So we have evidence of the actual driving offences, clear evidence of what Max Verstappen did. We don't need to consider this. That's a media lie. What we need to consider is this, the FIA document for the Code of Conduct for Driving around circuits. Chapter 4, Code of Driving Conduct on Circuits. We reference the actual evidence driving, the onboards, the clear evidence of what took place with this, and we apply appropriate penalties by cross-referencing the offences with what is deemed offences and therefore applying appropriate penalties for that. That didn't take place. That would display that the people in charge of handing out those penalties are acting corruptly. That didn't happen properly in the USA. What we got in terms of penalties at Mexico were diluted penalties. However, they're presented to us as being extreme penalties. Max Verstappen should have been black flagged and should have been suspended for his conduct. What he got was minimal penalties. There could have been penalties that are in between on a sliding scale. He could have had a 20-second penalty. He could have had a stop-start penalty, which effectively takes 20 seconds out of his race. He could have had a stop-go penalty. There's various different things that can be applied. Okay? This is the way that these things work. He got a minimal penalty. 2 minimal penalties. Now, as I exposed in the video, which one are we now? This one, Vanguard and BlackRock, Hamilton's 10 billion deal. That was a clickbait thumbnail. If I created a thumbnail and just put Vanguard, BlackRock, fans of Formula One won't click on that. They're not interested. Fans of the sport of Formula One are only interested in and, you know, the motor racing chair for the real motor racing fan. So anything that says BlackRock and Vanguard, oh, too long, didn't read, that's boring, not interested. Okay, but if it relates to a record-breaking deal for Hamilton, let's see what's going on there. And clearly, I'm trying to expose corruption, and people still didn't watch the video and went, oh, that didn't say anything about a deal, did it? That didn't say anything about a deal. What's that all about? All right, kids, like I say, some of you just don't have what it takes to get to university. Okay, don't you worry your little heads. I'm trying to help, but sometimes it feels like I'm pissing into the wind. Anyway, right, what we need to have a look at, don't worry about the media matrix. I'll try and reword it in a different way. The other day, I came across this article in the Express, and I traced its roots back to Vanguard, BlackRock, Stateside, who ultimately own the media, every single one, every newspaper, every TV station, everything that you look at on the internet. Yeah, they own it. They own it. So they own YouTube. What you're watching now, what you're watching this on YouTube, they own it. Yeah, they own that. So they can decide who gets to see this video and who doesn't. So the Express. Oh no, but that's the mystery algorithm. Nobody knows who decides. That's the mystery algorithm, isn't it? So Express, all right, is the British newspaper. We have British drivers you know, for the British bias, you know. So we have a British driver in Lando Norris. We have a British driver, the record-breaking driver in the sport, Sir Lewis Hamilton. We have George Russell. Uh, Alex Albon is Thai British. Okay, so we've got British drivers that are, you know, so therefore a British newspaper you would think would display some bias perhaps in terms of maybe wanting to do more reporting about the British driver. And if a British driver was impacted by something, you would think that British newspaper would champion the cause of the British driver, you would think, wouldn't you? No, no, it doesn't work like that. So the Express is advertising Tesco, and it's advertising Alan Titchmarch's Dream Garden magazine. Okay, so they're doing the advertising there, and you see various other adverts as we go down. And the article here, written by Sam Smith, FIA make huge decision on Brazilian Grand Prix stewards after Max Verstappen criticism. So what's happened here, everybody? The headline is Max Verstappen has criticised the stewards of the Grand Prix. Okay, and now the FIA, the governing body, has decided to take action by changing 3 of the stewards. That's the headline. How accurate is that? Well, number 1, Max Verstappen criticising the steward's decision. Max Verstappen is the guilty offender. If you are guilty of a heinous tackle in football worthy of a red card and the referee sends you off, does that football player get the chance to say on the media, oh, that referee is atrocious, and the FA ban that referee for the following week? Does that happen? Is that how it works? Or is it the footballer that's been sent off that gets a 3-game suspension? Seems it doesn't operate that way in Formula One. So they're giving the opinion of Max Verstappen, they're giving the case for Max Verstappen, the person guilty of the offences. They're projecting that the FIA are making a huge decision on the Brazilian Grand Prix after the stewards have been criticised. What is the nature of the steward makeup at every Grand Prix? Well, at every Grand Prix, there are 4 stewards. 3 of those stewards are supplied by the FIA. 1 steward is supplied by the home venue. So of the 4 stewards in Mexico, 1 of them was supplied by the Mexican Racing Authority, the home track venue. The other was from the FIA. At every race, the FIA supply a different set of 3 stewards. They rotate them round anyway. So moving from Mexico to Brazil, 1 of those stewards will automatically change anyway, because we will replace the official supplied by the Mexican Grand Prix home track with the official supplied by the Brazilian Grand Prix home track. So in Mexico, and this was the previous search that I got loaded up, you'll see in the other video, Alfonso Oros, okay, was the official supplied by the Mexican authorities for the Mexican Grand Prix. When we move to Brazil, he'll be replaced by Luciano Berti, a Brazilian former racer driver supplied by the Brazilian Grand Prix venue. The other 3 stewards will be the FIA appointed stewards. Johnny Herbert was one of those at the Mexican Grand Prix. He's going to be one in Brazil. And there'll be 2 others. That's standard practice. What's the news here? What is the news here? We've got a headline pretending that something is going on. Something is afoot. The FIA are making a huge decision on the Brazilian Grand Prix. And it's not news. It's not a huge decision. It's just normal. Max Verstappen was penalised, and they're trying to say, oh, because them stewards have penalised Max Verstappen, the stewards have done something wrong and now they're going to be replaced. And this is by Sam Smith of this shitty publication. So you have to scroll down and try and pick out the writing in between the adverts and the clickbait and the shit. The FIA have changed 3 of the stewards who handed Max Verstappen 2 10-second penalties in Mexico ahead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Former driver Johnny Herbert, who received criticism from Verstappen's father last week, is the only steward who remains in place as teams head to Brazil. Is that standard practice? Well, yes it is. So it's nothing new. It's not news, is it? You're bringing in this notion of, oh, the stewards received criticism from Max's dad. Max did something wrong. Max rightfully got a penalty. Max's dad didn't like it. Thanks for that. You think that's news? You think that's worthy of making out to people that something's going on here that shouldn't be going on, and therefore it's the stewards, the FIA are doing something about that by changing the stewards? This is the media narrative. This is the mind conditioning that many people will fall for in the media. Okay? It's standard. You can go from Grand Prix to Grand Prix to Grand Prix, and we can go onto the FIA website, as I showed you earlier. You can go on to Sport, and you can go on to World Championships, FIA World Championship. And what you have here is Sao Paulo Grand Prix official documents. You can click onto that. When you click onto that, you go down here, and you can keep scrolling down, and we'll start from the start of the season. Bahrain Grand Prix. You can go onto there and final race classification. Let's have a look on that one to see if the stewards' names are listed on that. There you go. 2024 Grand Prix. Nischetti, Derek Warwick, Loic Bacalane, and Mazen Al Hilli, or however you pronounce that one. Yeah. So that was at Bahrain. The final one listed there would be supplied by the Bahrain Grand Prix track. Let's just go to the next Grand Prix, Saudi, and we'll go on to the final race classification and see what stewards were at that one. Nischetti, Vitantonio Luizzi, Matteo Perini, Hassan Al-Abadali. Right, so Hassan Al-Abadali, he's supplied by the Saudi Arabians. We'll go back to Bahrain. That was this one, Mazin. So from that, it was Nischetti, Derek Warwick, Loic, and the next one, Nischetti, Luizzi, and Perini. Oh, what's the difference, everybody? Well, the only thing that's the same is Nischetti. The only thing that's the same between Mexico and Brazil is Johnny Herbert. Where's the news? Where's the news? But here, oh, it's because this has happened after Max Verstappen criticism, say the Express, inciting the crazies, misinforming people, skewing the situation, lying to people, lying to children. Herbert, who denied claims of British bias it's the British bias, is it? Towards McLaren's Lando Norris. So the reason that he gave Max Verstappen a penalty wasn't due to Max Verstappen committing an offence as dictated and as defined in the FIA guidelines. He gave Max Verstappen the penalty because he likes Lando Norris, because Lando Norris is the same nationality as him. Is that the reason, is it, the Express? Is that what you're trying to project? So Johnny Herbert will remain in place. Oh, but he's had to deny British bias. Oh, that biased one is still there. But Tim Mayer, Loic Bacalane, and Alfonso Oros will all step aside. Strange that. Well, Alfonso is not stepping aside. He's just the one that's provided by Mexico. He'll be replaced by the one that Brazil will provide. Three-time Grand Prix winner Herbert will be joined by Dr. Gerd Enzer and Andrew Malalou and Luciano Berti. I've just showed you. Luciano Berti is provided by the Brazilian authority. The FIA have announced the changes in the aftermath of strong criticism of Verstappen's penalties last weekend, which he received for clashing with Norris. Now, they're making it. The FIA have announced the changes in the aftermath of that, have they? Or what were they announcing the changes between the Bahrain Grand Prix What about Bahrain? What have they announced the changes between the Bahrain Grand Prix and the Saudi Grand Prix? Why did they change the stewards there? Oh, is that just standard practice? Yes, that's just standard practice. You see, this channel is here to educate you about corruption, media corruption, and how it is working. How they are using their method of conveying supposed information, and it is lies. It is all lies designed to condition people, to incite people, to give people the wrong impression of the truth. And this is what we need to guard against in this world. Understand this. So, we've got to scroll down some more, beyond a few more adverts. Okay, Jos Verstappen, Max's dad, okay, claimed that stewards could be guilty of a conflict of interest. Herbert is a former British driver. So being a former British driver makes you have a conflict of interest, does it? What's the conflict of interest? You used to be a driver and you're British. And therefore, you making a decision to decide whether another driver has committed a infringement is a conflict of interest. No, that's not a conflict of interest, is it? So don't write it as being a potential one. While fellow Mexican steward, Mayer, son of McLaren founder Teddy Mayer, I didn't know Teddy Mayer was Mexican, okay? Do you mean the steward that was the steward in Mexico? He's not Mexican by nationality, I don't think. This chap Mayer is the son of McLaren co-founder Teddy Mayer. So because he's the son of the co-founder of McLaren, he might be willing to give a judgment to the McLaren driver. Yes, that is a potential conflict of interest. One that maybe he should not be allowed to be a steward, stewarding an FIA event in which McLaren cars are competing, as he has a tie to McLaren. Yes, so that it would be a conflict of interest. Can we look at his decision making? And does any part of his decision making look like it is displaying bias? Or does the offence that we can all identify with the evidence, the footage of what's going on, can we identify that indeed, yes, there was an offence carried out, and all that was done was that the stewards performed their role and applied a penalty? If anything, the penalty applied was extremely lenient and not to the level that it should have been. So what is that actually showing? It's not telling us, is it? What the Express go and tell us is, have they gone? Do I need to leave this? But do they start talking about Derek Warwick yet? Derek Warwick is a steward. Oh, a former British racing car driver. They might come to this. I can't remember whether they did or not. Derek Warwick owns a Honda car dealership on the island of Jersey. The Red Bull car is powered by Honda engines. If a Honda engine powered car wins a race or does well in a world championship, that is great exposure, great kudos for the Honda brand, for which Derek Warwick makes his money out of selling the Honda brand, selling Honda branded cars. So therefore, it is in his interests for the Honda branded car and the Honda powered car to appear to be the best, because he has an interest in that. He makes money out of that. Is that a conflict of interest? Adjudicating whether or not a penalty applies to a Honda powered car that will impact its success and impact his own earnings. Yes, that is a conflict of interest. Have you identified that, the Express? Anyway, instead what we get is a quote believed to be from Verstappen Senior, Jos Verstappen, Max's dad. The FIA should take a good look at the staffing of the stewards who they put there, and whether there is no appearance of a conflict of interest. Verstappen Senior said, from former drivers, for example, who have more sympathy for certain drivers. So what they don't tell you is that at Abu Dhabi 2021, Derek Warwick was a steward, and Derek Warwick confirmed the breaking of rules which denied Lewis Hamilton a record-breaking 8th World Championship and gifted that to Max Verstappen, the Honda-powered car driver. There's no mention of that. The media has never revealed that. The media is all owned by Vanguard and BlackRock and Stateside. But no, we get this newspaper writing this article this way. There is no evidence of bias from the Mexican Grand Prix stewards, and Herbert has hit back at those allegations. So Johnny's hit back. There is no evidence, but although there's no evidence, you felt it fit to write this article to afford a platform to the Verstappens. So you've got no evidence of what you're writing, and yet you are projecting this without any form of context, without identifying the penalties that the actual infringements, that Max Verstappen was guilty of, without in any way referring to the guidelines as to how it should be judged and whether or not they were valid penalties that were applied. Instead, all you do is project the feelings of the people that were the perpetrators and who then received a minor penalty for the offences that they committed. And this is what the media has done. So, there always seems to be an issue about us British stewards being biased. But when we're in that room, we abide by the rules and guidelines from the FIA, Herbert told Action Network. You shouldn't have to defend that, Herbert. All you should do is look at the driving, look at the offence, look at how those offences get punished, and what did we apply. Evidently, that's not bias. That is just an official carrying out the role of an official. If anything, the penalties that should have been applied should have been far greater. So, we scroll down, as we keep having to see where the next bit of writing is in between the adverts. That is how we have judged. That is how we have to judge the racing on the track. To say it's biased is absolutely ridiculous and not the case. Oh, this is journalism. This is offering a balanced point of view. He said, she said. Jos Verstappen says this. Johnny Herbert says that. What do you think in the comment section? Let's ignite the conflict. Let's ignite and fuel the argument for the engagement, because the more you click, the more you come back to this page, the more you see these adverts, the more money we get each and every time this advert gets your eyes on it. What is the media doing? They are perpetrating the narrative of the agenda of those who own the show and oversee the fraud. And they are making money out of it with the advertising revenue. This is what is really going on. This is what I'm trying to expose. It's corruption through and through. We try as hard as possible to be fair in our judgment. In Mexico, the stewards other than me were American, Belgian and Brazilian. So maybe that Oros guy that was provided by the Mexicans, maybe he was a Brazilian national but formed part of the Mexican authority. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, who have the same powers as each other. To say there is bias is ridiculous. Verstappen was handed separate 10-second penalties over incidents within a few seconds of each other. Talk us through those incidents, Sam Smith. Talk us through driving another car off the track and how dangerous that is. Talk us through driving another car off the track and leaving the track itself, being willing to crash your fellow competitor out of a Grand Prix, and whether or not you should have a place in the sport for conducting yourself in that manner. Sam Smith, your F1 journalist from the Express. No, you won't do that, will you, Sam Smith? You're just complying with the narrative. You're getting paid, what, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 pounds a year? Let me know what you think in the comment section, Sam Smith. You fucking twat of a human being. Yeah? You absolute bastard of a human being. Sam Smith, who I'm sure his family will think he's a lovely chap. Oh, Sam's doing really well. Sam's a journalist for a national newspaper. Sam's relatives, his friends and family think Sam's a person of integrity. Great kudos to Sam. Sam's partner, whether it be his boyfriend or his girlfriend or his husband or his wife, they'll think he's incredible. Somebody of great status. Well, Sam's a see you next Tuesday. That's what Sam is. Sam's a prize see you next Tuesday. Verstappen was handed two separate 10-second penalties over incidents within a few seconds of each other. The Red Bull star was deemed to have forced Norris wide at turn 4 early in the race. He was then punished for moving wide in an attempt to reclaim his position. The Red Bull star was deemed to have forced Norris. He was deemed to have forced Norris wide at turn 4, was he? Or how about you check this video out and see whether he factually forced Norris wide? Or what's the other description you've given there, Sam Smith? He was then punished for moving wide in an attempt to reclaim his position. Again, check this video out. Was Verstappen moving wide to defend his position? Or was he attacking the other car that was ahead of him? What was actually going on? Norris was in second place. Verstappen was in third. That's not defending your position, sending it up the inside and driving your fellow competitor off the track. Totally out of control. Dangerous. And yet Sam Smith says he was then punished for moving wide in an attempt to reclaim his position. So I actually said that wrong, defending. It is to reclaim his position. Punished for moving wide. That's not moving wide. That is driving dangerously. That is carrying far too much speed into a corner where you know you're not going to make that corner by staying on the track. This is the driver they sell us as being the best you've ever seen with incredible car control. To have incredible car control, you are acutely aware of the capabilities of your car. You're acutely aware of what speed you can carry in that car and what grip you're going to have and whether that car is going to remain on track with. You're going to have the right line, the speed and the grip to enable you to stay on the track. And Max Verstappen did that. Max Verstappen knew what he was doing. And he was punished for moving wide. And that, I believe, is the end of the article. But there's still lots more adverts you can look. And then we got the comments section. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Ignite the conflict. But this is what we have it. But this isn't the only place that we have it. Because, obviously, I've showed you that newspaper is ultimately owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, or whatever they call themselves. Sky Sports, owned by Comcast, ultimately owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, Stateside, whatever they call themselves. What are these tabs? Meta, Facebook. So I started campaigning for the best part of a year on Facebook. And Instagram, because Meta owns both Facebook and Instagram. Who owns Meta? Oh, that's different. That's Zuckerberg. Okay, you can say what you want on Facebook and it's not going to be censored. No, it doesn't work like that because Mark Zuckerberg, is it this one? This is top owners of Meta platforms. So who owns Meta? Zuckerberg owns 13.5% of it. But below Zuckerberg, who owns Meta? Oh, well, that'd be Vanguard, that'd be BlackRock, and that will be State Street Global Advisors down here. So Vanguard owns 7.1%, BlackRock owns 6.1%, State Street owns 3.3%. They all own each other as well. It's the same people that are the top board members in each ones. Okay, so yeah, Facebook, where else you get your news from? That's also owned by Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street, and you'll see JP Morgan. These lists, these names that you see on this list, you'll see the various iterations of those names on every list. What else? Elon Musk. Oh, he's the richest man in the world, isn't he? Elon, he's the one that owns Twitter. So at least Twitter, you can say what you want, and that's owned by Elon, the richest man in the world. No, they own Elon as well, unfortunately, lads. Because although he owned X Corp that owns Twitter and SpaceX and Tesla, who owned Tesla? You've got to go and do your research. But who owns Tesla? Let's have a look at who owns Tesla. Tesla Inc. Major holders, percentage of shares, and you can go down to Tesla. Top institutional holders. Let's have a look. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Geode Capital Management, Capital World Investors, Morgan Stanley again, JP Morgan Chase Company, Norge Bank. You've seen these names before. Yeah, they own everything. Yeah. So Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man. Zuckerberg, the world's wealthiest man. Bezos, the world's wealthiest man. Yeah. These guys that hide, that tell us the narrative, they own them. They're just front men. Elon Musk is just a front man. They own his company. Understand that? They own 10% or 5% of everything. So if Elon Musk owns 100% of Tesla, well, he doesn't clearly, because they own at least 5% of it each, so he doesn't. But Elon Musk owns a bit of something that's really valuable. Yeah, that's nice, but they own a bit of it as well. But they also own a bit of everything else. Everything else. And they own all the media that tell us about it. And what the media doesn't do is tell us about them that own it and that are actually directing the narrative. So that's the situation. As I started off with, the whole point of this channel is to try and educate and expose. To the strap-on fanboy that comes here, that is in love with their super fan, that you are the super fan of Max Verstappen. That's nice for you, okay? I'm pleased that you idolise another human being so much, okay, that you spend all of your time subscribing to channels that you don't like, okay, because you think that these channels undermine your favourite, okay, and therefore you need to spend all of your time defending your hero. Okay, I'm sorry for you that is how you feel you need to use your life, okay, but because there is a proportion of you that are like that. But actually, there's quite a proportion of you that are clearly paid, okay, clearly employed, contracted by Vanguard, BlackRock, all of them others on the list as disruptors. Yeah, you're disruptors because you come here to try and undermine the truth being exposed to people. To make sure people, this isn't popular content. The algorithm isn't going to recommend this to people. But I'm not the only one, and it's not the only field. In various facets of life, people are waking up to the truth, waking up to what is really going on in this world. So you can use the terms conspiracy theorist to undermine someone. You say, oh, this guy's crazy. This guy's think that there's a big plan that made that happen. And it wasn't that. It was just one guy that made a mistake under pressure. They couldn't have planned that, could they? No, of course not. Of course not. That's how they tell you anyway. That's how everybody that tells you will tell you. Or there's a simple truth that can be evidenced, that those who are telling you don't use that evidence and just tell you a different way, or lie about the rules. Because they lied about the rules in Abu Dhabi 2021. They told you in Abu Dhabi 2021, oh, when are they going to get these lapped cars out of the way of the race between the leaders? That's not the purpose. Once again, we're talking about Lando Norris, aren't we? Lando Norris was still in a race in Abu Dhabi prior to his Slow puncture. Lando was running in 5th. He had to pit for a slow puncture. He came out in 10th, passed the two Alpines, got himself up to 8th, was chasing down Gasly in 7th, and then all of a sudden, safety car! But when he pitted, just because Hamilton had passed, Norris found himself lapped. But now, because of the safety incident, because somebody's crashed, he now has to wait behind Hamilton. Gasly, who was just up the road, actually not as far ahead as Norris as Hamilton was ahead of Verstappen. Gasly disappears off around the track and now gains an entire lap on Norris. That's not motor racing, kids. That's not how it works. So you have a regulation which dictates that if you have a safety car situation, before you go racing again, you have to carry out this procedure, which is to release the lapped cars and then make that safety car stay on track for another lap to give those lapped cars that have just been released the chance of making it around to the back of the pack, to create the condition where all of the built-up advantages that have been, like the 12-second advantage that Hamilton had over Verstappen, that's been wiped out. So the 12-second advantage, or it was less than that, that Gasly had over Norris, that's also wiped out. So it's the same for everybody in the race. And so you restart that race in the correct race order with all of them built-up advantages nullified, like we saw in Mexico. Safety car! We'd just started, okay? So there weren't really any advantages built up. But before we go racing again, we've got to make sure we've got the pack bunched up properly again. Nobody's got an advantage and everyone's in the correct race order. And then we start again. And all the regulations are there for is to achieve that condition. And that's what they actually do. And the media don't tell you that. The media lie. Media said it's confusion. Nobody understands the rules. And maybe it was because one of the teams was having a go at the race director that he felt under pressure. And it was just Michael Massey that made a mistake. They don't tell you that there's 10 people in the FIA race control, do they? There's lots of things they don't tell you. They don't tell you that all of the teams complied with the rules being broken. They accepted it. Just so that created a situation where one guy was odds-on favourite to win. That's race fixing. That is the crime of fraud. Oh, they don't tell you that. That fraud made Liberty Media, that is owned by Vanguard and BlackRock, made Liberty Media $4.8 billion. Vanguard and BlackRock and Stateside, they all got 10% of that. They got $480 million dollars each out of that. So they use their media. Oh, shh. We own the media. Don't let the media tell people the truth. Because if the people find out the truth, we get taken to court, people go to prison, and we lose our money. So we use our media to lie to people and condition people's minds with lies. And this is happening in everything that we see in life. Simple facts. You can find out the truth. The truth is there. There's the FIA document. The clear evidence is available. They show us this. This was on the Sky Sports. Wherever. I shouldn't have clicked on that really, because that's just another advert. That was on the Sky Sports own thing. They show us what it is. But what they do, they talk through, I don't know what they're talking through. They're snakes, aren't they? They try and talk about it, which doesn't reflect the situation. They try and then present Karen Chandok to us to try and tell us to justify that. Oh, the rules, which are confusing, don't tell us that Max can't go off the track. So that means Max is the expert of the rules by deciding that he can go off the track. By creating a world where it's all confusing and nobody knows the rules and nobody knows how to punish anybody, even if anybody even has broken the rules, then those that are in charge of the narrative and committing the crimes and breaking the rules, it means they evade justice. It means they continue at the top of the tree with all the billions, in control of everything, committing the crime, making the money, and nobody ever holds them to account. When the mafia own the police and own the media, the mafia don't do anything wrong, do they? They never commit any crime, and that crime's never reported. Can you see what we're living in? This is the world that we're living in, ladies and gentlemen. But that just makes me a conspiracy theorist for saying so. The weaponized term to discredit the person that's highlighting what's really going on in this world. So yes, maybe I'm off to wear a tinfoil hat. Maybe I'm off to look at the flat earth. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. All terms designed to undermine an individual, to make you think that what I have to say should just be ignored and laughed at. That's what they do. Weaponized terms. Oh, look at him. He's woke. What? Awoken to seeing what is actually going on? That's a bad thing, is it? Ha ha! Look at this guy's woke. Look at him with his woke agenda. Well, it just means I've woken up to your bullshit. It isn't us and them, and it's us against them. Those that are in control. Anyway, that'll do on this one. Thank you for your time.